Last night I found an entrance to the Backrooms. If you don't know, they're a place just outside our reality that you can wind up in if you're not careful. The Backrooms are endless, office-like hallways with old yellowed wallpaper and a mouldy carpet, all under the hum of bad fluorescent lighting. Some say it goes on for hundreds of millions of kilometers. Others say it has no end. I was staying at an old hotel called Clearview Inn in Riverbow, Massachusetts. It's the town's only hotel, a heritage building around 250 years old. The exterior sort of looks like a countryside school. Old, cracked yellow brick with a concrete doorframe, the inscription on which was no longer legible. A bell rang as I entered, and the owner greeted me at reception. She looked both surprised and excited to see me. I gathered that she didn't have guests very often. She gave me a discount on the deluxe suite, a room that took up most of the 5th floor. A thick, red shag carpet covered the floor of the entire hotel. It had a strange odor to it, but I couldn't quite pinpoint what it was. One thing I liked about the hotel was how quiet it was, especially from the 5th floor. Even the bustle of the main street below was drowned out. I stared down the long, dark hallway, lit by gas lamps on either side. The red carpet seemed to extend to infinity, to blackness. I fiddled with the lock on my door and got inside. It was hot in my room, and the carpet smell was a lot stronger. There was a mini fridge containing some bottles of water, but it seemed not to be turned on, and the water inside was warm. I called down to the front desk to ask if there was an ice machine on my floor. Just down the hall and to the right, she told me. So, bottle of water in hand, I made my way down the dimly lit hall. At the end of the hall were some of those hanging plastic doors that you might see in a slaughterhouse. There was no ice machine in front of them, maybe just past them. I pushed my way through them and immediately found that the carpeted hallway sloped downward. It branched out to no other doors, so I just kept following. The hallway seemed to get narrower and hotter as I went. There was a short staircase down, just 3 steps, and then a much longer staircase back up. It seemed to wind around some bend, as though it were climbing the outer rim of a large castle spire. Finally, I came to a second impossibly long, flat hallway. The gas lighting was a little bit brighter here, but it looked like the hall near my room. I walked at a brisk pace toward its end, driven mostly by curiosity now. The walls of the tunnel seemed to move past me at an uncanny speed. It got faster and faster, and I was becoming dizzy. I stopped moving, and the motion continued. My vision went blurry, and there was a ringing in my ears. I blinked several times, rubbing my eyes, and there I was, the back rooms. They looked just as they had in images on the internet. It was silent, but for the hum of the lights. The smell, similar to my hotel room, although less sharp. A strong feeling of dread overcame me. I think it would have, even if I hadn't known where I was. There's something viscerally unsettling about those endless office halls. I couldn't remember if there was a way to get out. I knew I'd read about it somewhere, at some point before, but the knowledge escaped me. I'd only been in there 30 seconds, and it already felt like I was starting to go mad. Getting a hold of myself, I carefully looked around. There were no discerning features in the lighting, the wallpaper, or the floor. It looked like I could have been dropped off at any point in the endless labyrinth. I tried following my instincts, moving right down a hall, keeping right, moving left, heading straight. Oh, dead end. When I turned around, I thought I saw something in the corner of my eye, and the ringing in my ears spiked and trailed off. I'd seen things like this before when I was low on sleep. It was a simple, visual hallucination, a dark mass in the periphery that vanished when you looked at it dead on. I stood in place and blinked a couple times. The hallucinations flickered from another part of the small room, and then ceased. Okay, good. I was right, I thought to myself, but the feeling of dread only deepened. There was a feeling scraping at the back of my mind that I was supposed to be looking for something, but I couldn't think of what that would be. At the time, I couldn't even think of how I got there, and I was struggling to remember my own name. I had a new idea. To to head back to the room I started in and see if I could bust down one of the walls. If that had really been my entry point, maybe there was something behind it, some trap door that I don't remember falling through. I bolted upright and charged at the far wall, shoulder bashing it with all my force. Although it appeared to be made of drywall, it bent considerably, making only a light, wet thud as it rebounded. In a space this vast, I would have expected an echo, but the sound fell so flat against the carpet. In futility, I pounded at the wall and screamed. Several minutes went by, and I was only just starting to tire when the ringing picked up in my ears. A loud scrape could be heard from over my right shoulder, and just as I was turning, I thought I could see a humanoid creature in my peripheral vision, but by the time I focused at the spot in the hall where it had stood, it was no longer visible. My heart was pounding. I had been sure I saw something there this time, although it had looked like it was made of the same darkness as sleepless hallucinations. I held out as long as I could, but finally when I blinked I saw it again, just as my eyelashes were passing over my pupils in either direction. It was peeking out from behind a wall when I closed my eyes, and as I was opening them it was moving toward me. I turned right and sprinted without hesitation. The creature itself made no sound, but I could hear it scraping against the walls and floor as it followed me through the back rooms. With each turn of my head to look at it, I saw it chasing after me, but when my head finally finished its turn, I couldn't see it. It was as though, just like these rooms, it was determined to exist only on the fringes of perception. Finally, it bested my stamina. My heart and lungs had no more to give, and in a desperate rage I turned to face my pursuer and charged at him in the last spot I had seen him in my periphery. The walls of the back rooms moved furiously about me, as though an invisible fishhook was pulling me backward through them. I was dragged along the carpet by something, deeper into a darker part of the labyrinth. The light around me faded and died, and I could see nothing, hear nothing outside of my ragged breathing. When the lights came back on, they were the gas lamps of the hotel. I was seated at the end of the red carpeted hall, under an exit sign next to the fire escape, and there, to my left, was the ice machine. Out of morbid curiosity, I tried to enter the back rooms once more before I checked out in the morning, but the hall ended as it should have. I asked the owner if she had ever experienced anything on the 5th floor, and she told me she hadn't, but that she hadn't been down that hall in years. Maybe you can only enter the back rooms once. If you like, feel free to come to Clearview Inn and test my theory.